that'd be wonderful. Yes. Do you want me to introduce myself?
Yes, please.
Okay. Introductions of myself. Got it. Hi, I'm Scott McLines. I'm a guidance counselor. I was a longtime basketball coach, and I do motivational speaking on the side. I've also authored a book, and yeah, I'm excited to chat with you guys. It's great to see your faces this morning. It's early out here. I'm on the West Coast, so 7:30, 9:30, I think, your time. So, wonderful. Is that all you wanted?
Yeah, I think we can go ahead and start. I mean, I know everybody has busy schedules today. So Scott did a meeting with the group, the consulting group. I believe it was March 6th, maybe March 7th, and everybody thought that it really bode well for the providers and what you guys see every day, and the patients that you chat with too. So like Scott said, he was a coach for 20 years, and he's now a guidance counselor of teenagers, if you guys can imagine. So he has some great tips and tricks, and he's very open and receptive to questions, feedback. We will meet with him monthly going forward, I think through the month of November, if I remember right. He just talks about 15 minutes, so it's not long. But if there's any topic that you guys would like Scott to kind of touch on, please let Scott or myself know, and I'll share his email after the call. It's all yours, Scott.
Excellent. Well, it's great to see your faces. The first meeting that I did a couple of weeks ago, all I saw was characters or just phones and things like that. So I wasn't sure if there were similar people here or not. So sorry for that. But anyway, yes, I was a basketball coach for 25 years. This is my first year not coaching, and I'm just moving on to different things. As a basketball coach, it was really, really important that all of our players, coaches, and participants were on the same page. We had shared goals, shared beliefs, and it was really, really important that we knew what each other was doing. And I didn't always lead from top down. I was part of a team. Even though I was the head coach, it was really important for me to listen and feel what the coaches and other players were saying and feeling. We always wanted to win, and it wasn't always possible to win. And there was a phrase that I used to say all the time, and it's a phrase that's come back to me because Coach K, this is his final season at Duke, that's a loud bell. He coined the phrase, a win can be a loss, and a loss can be a win. And he used that in basketball, obviously, and we didn't coin that phrase, but we use that phrase a lot. Because often the scoreboard reflects a team that wins and a team that loses. And I can take that further into life and further into your business as well, where New Leaf can say a win can be a loss and a loss can be a win. You can basically use that saying in a lot of things in life. And I think that when you think about that in New Leaf, what is considered a win and what is considered a loss? And can a win be a loss? And can a loss be a win? And that's a kind of tongue-twisting situation there. But is a win when you see an increase in clients? Is a win when sales are up? Or is a win when you're seeing growth and change in your clients? And when is a win a loss, and vice versa, a loss a win? Because the difficult part, I think, in healthcare, sometimes in my world as a counselor, is that we get real focused on what we consider a win to be and what we're hoping to get. And a difficult thing I could see in your realm is that you are trying to increase your clientele, you're trying to potentially, obviously you're trying to be a successful company, but at the heart of your success really is the client. And if clients are feeling the same success, then potentially it's a win-win. But just because you have more clients, sales are up, meeting percentage quotas are up, but clients aren't happy, or it's a stressful situation, then a win could be a loss and vice versa. So I think that it's really important that as you're dealing with and finding new clients, that listening and hearing is something that I do a lot of in my job as a counselor, and I'm sure it's what you do when you're doing intake, is you're listening to what kind of change that the client is seeking. I think that's really, really important. And making long-lasting or life-changing habits, goal setting and things like that, I think you really have to understand the heart of change and what the client is wanting. One of the things that I try to model and try to do as a counselor is I try to be quick to listen and slow to speak. I have kids come in, and some of those kids are incredibly bright, incredibly talented. They're going off to the Naval Academy, or they're going to Stanford, Yale. I've had some really, really incredible students, and they come through and have things to talk about. And then 15 minutes later, or half an hour later, my next appointment comes through, and it's a kid that's living in a car with his mom. And so obviously I have to be able to shift from, these are expectations of this student, these are expectations of the other. And just meeting basic needs might be something that I need to focus on. And so I can't just treat everybody and put them all into the same cookie cutter mold. And I think that obviously you guys have lots of people that come through your doors and have different needs, and you can't just use the same cookie cutter approach. And I think that that's where there's a big difference between listening and hearing. Funny thing, my wife always says, are you listening, or do you hear me? And yes, I hear, but do I really listen? And sometimes hearing is just like what's in the background. It's accidental, it's involuntary, and oftentimes if I'm really in a rush to get places, or I have a deadline and I've got this kid here, I might be hearing what they're saying, but I might not be listening to the heart of what they're saying and what they're really needing. And if I'm formulating what I want to say next to kind of speed up the process, I might be hearing, but I'm not really listening, because listening is focused, it's voluntary, and it's intentional. Whereas hearing is accidental, it's just kind of going on around you, involuntary, and it's kind of effortless. And so if I have an agenda and I know I've got to hit these points, get things done, and then move on to my next thing, I might not be listening for, and I really might miss out on the heart of what the kid is trying to say. And in your area, you might be thinking they want to go this direction, but really they might be wanting to go a totally different direction. And I think that it's important to know that obviously we all see people, and we make we make assumptions sometimes that just because they're coming to see me or they're coming to see you, that they want certain things, but they may have been forced in. Parents may say, hey, go see your counselor, talk to them. Other, in your area, there might be people that are saying, hey, you need to change this, or you should go do this. And so they're doing it not because it's what they want, but maybe because they're feeling forced. And so I think it's really, really important that we try not to make those assumptions and understand why they're there. But listen really for the heart and listen for the heart of change. One of the things, and and this is something that Lynn and I have talked about, I have 15-minute appointments. And sometimes I see kids every 15 minutes. And I have things that I have to get through. And she's like, geez, how do you do that? And how do you do a good job at that? I try not to, and right now what I've done here is probably the most talking I will do for the first half of my day. I try to listen. I want the student, the individual, the client, to be the leader of the conversation, and really I just want to be there listening for what they are hoping, to communicate, and then to facilitate or come alongside them and come up with some solutions. Obviously, things sometimes take longer than 15 minutes. But I also go back to my basketball days and think, whew, sometimes you get a timeout, and sometimes you call a 30-second timeout. And in high school basketball, a 30-second timeout is only a 15-second timeout because a buzzer rings, just kind of like the bells we were hearing. And after 15 seconds, and then they got to get back out on the court and start play by the end of that 30-second timeout. So it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be rushed, but sometimes you say less to say more. And knowing what the situation is, reading the situation, and then being able to communicate clearly. Obviously in a timeout, all eyes are on me. We've got 15 seconds to figure this out. We got to make this shot. We got to make this stop, whatever. A little bit different situation than when I'm in my counseling office and when you guys are working with clients. But the same thing is true. They need to see me and believe what I'm saying, and I need to know that they understand it and that I'm there for them, that I support, and that I'm going to do whatever I can to assist. So one of the things that we talk about in listening, in my realm, and I'm sure it applies to you, is making sure that we're making good eye contact, being attentive, making sure that we're listening for the heart of the issue. Golly, can't believe how annoying that is. Welcome to my world. Not trying to interrupt or control the conversation, because I think it's sometimes real easy to push our own agendas. And sometimes when I catch myself doing that, I might be taking a student or a client somewhere down a path that they don't want to go. I also like to try to avoid telling them or using phrases like, I like to, or this is what I do, and make it more about me and how I deal with things. I try to put it on them and listen for what they're wanting to do. And then I always use some wait and pause time and rephrase using clarifying questions, because sometimes I'll jump in and want to make a suggestion or come up with a solution, and they're not quite ready for that. And then one of my favorite things to do is that I ask, I don't tell. Would you like to hear my ideas? After I paraphrase or rephrase what they're saying, I want permission before I interject and say, this is what I think. And I think that gives students, that gives them the feeling like we're on the same level, we're on the same page, and that I care. I don't want to just say, this is what you have to do. And then another trick that I really, really, really love to use with students, and you know, depending on age, it works well with teenagers, but older individuals might, well, maybe not. I like to use a trick that's called look forward and look back. Because when you talk about change and heart of change, if you look forward, and I always use 10 years. So if I'm talking to a 16-year-old young man or young woman, and I say, look forward 10 years, where do you see yourself at 25, 26? And then look back to see where you currently are and what are the steps it's going to take to get there. That puts them in a position where for 15-year-old, 16-year-old, that's almost double their life, right? Wow, that's way down the road. And I tell them it goes quick. You know, we can all say, yeah, the older we get, the faster it goes. But having them do that exercise and look forward, I think is very powerful because it puts the ownership and it allows them to see where they want to go and then look back to figure out how they're going to get there. Asking things like that, you're going to hear maybe goals, you're going to hear motivation, you're going to hear dreams, and if there isn't, then we might have some problems. So it's a great tool that I like to use, and it's one of my favorite sayings or tricks. So I have talked way too much, and I would like to pause, and I would like to hear from you how you think, you know, some of the things that I talked about with listening can be applied to your role there at New Leaf, how a win can be a loss can be a win, and then maybe the difference between what you think is hearing and listening and how you can utilize that in your work. So I'd like to just take some questions if you have any, some comments. It's been awesome, and I hate talking this much, so I apologize if I just rambled on and made this a real boring and 15 minutes. Who would like to start?
Well, I actually like the look forward, look back. In our world, the providers are seeing so many that are coming to them. Like you said, you see kids that are coming to them that have their future all mapped out. You see kids that are coming to you that are living out of a car. You see kids that are coming to you and they don't even know why they're coming to you. The providers see the exact same thing. But the look forward, look back. I mean, do you want your life to stay the same? I mean, Brenda is a true testimonial to this with her weightlifting and her competing. But do you want to be the same, or do you want to move forward? Do you want to live a healthier life with hormones in balance? And so I think the look forward, look back is a great thing for the providers. But I don't want to take their time. I'd love to hear from all the providers too.
Yes, awkward silence, love it.
Brenda, give me your thoughts.
Well, I would just say, you know, like, people don't even know what they're capable of. You know, you just have to be, like, sometimes all they need is, like, somebody that's supportive, just like the kids you work with. I'm sure some of them have home lives that we can't even imagine. So you just really don't know what someone is dealing with, and sometimes you could be that one person that could, you know, give them that positive spark, and all they need is encouragement and like that they can do it, because they might not hear that at home, and a lot of our patients are that way too. They don't have the supportive, you know. So I just talk to them about getting, you know, sticking around with, you know, supportive people that are on the same mission as them, and that will help a lot. But just being that positive and like praising them for like small changes that they made because, you know, nobody can change everything at once. It's just baby steps, being gentle with themselves. And even the girls I work with, they think that I don't ever, at first, they thought I never ate anything bad and all. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have all the same struggles, you know, and let our patients know that too. You know, no one is perfect at all. So.
That's great. Love that. What did you guys think about a loss can be a win and a win can be a loss? Did you see that in your position?
I guess I can talk about that one. So I do feel like I can see that in like growth. Like for us as providers, we're trying to give these patients the time that they need. And sometimes growth, you know, if we're running through or we're feeling rushed, we may not listen as appropriately as we should, or we may not pick up on those cues that we should pick up on to help that patient do the best. So I can see where that growth is an amazing thing for a company, but sometimes whenever, you know, it kind of puts pressure on those that are having to deal with that growth on a different level, I think. And so just knowing how to navigate that as providers, like, okay, now we do have less time, or maybe we are seeing more people, and problems are not getting easier. You know, obviously problems are getting worse. And so I think, and we're dealing with, you know, I feel like sometimes whenever I'm in a consultation, it almost is a counseling session sometimes, because you have to meet that person where they are and kind of figure out where their goals are, and, you know, try to create a plan that is individualized to them. And so sometimes that can take time. You know, I mean, you may have a certain amount of time set aside, but it may take longer than that. So just kind of figuring out how to navigate that without, you know, making the patient, because at the end of the day, they are why we're here. And so just making them feel like you're giving them that time, you're not rushing them into decisions that they may not be comfortable with. And so I think that that's probably where I could see that exact thing on our end as far as growth. You know, we want growth, but we also want to give the patients the time that they need and the respect to listen to them and do what's best for them. Because it's not cookie cutter, you know, everybody's going to be a different situation for sure.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that, you know, sometimes we gauge what success is and what our goals are, and we lose track of, you know, what our real purpose is and who we're serving and what they want out of the session, or what they want and what their life change is. And we might be, oh yeah, we've got all these clients and we've got all this, you know, we're really, you know, doing great, but if they're not, then I can see that being problematic.
Unless anybody has something else to add, we really appreciate everybody's time this morning. Give me your feedback. I'd love to hear from everybody, Eric, Amber, Brenda, Christy, April, what your thoughts are. I mean, this is really kind of for you. I know, like, you guys are, like, as Christy said, can be a guidance counselor. So this is for you to help you, support you, and if there's anything we can do, Scott can do, myself can do to help support you. We don't want to frustrate you with these. We're trying to inspire, help, and support with these, right, Scott?
That's for sure. Yeah, I don't want this to be a stressful situation. And I think that my email will be shared, and if you want to just chat over email, or if you have questions about how I do certain things, or, you know, meet with kids in 15 minutes, or, you know, things like that, you can always reach out to me and send me an email, and I'm usually pretty quick to respond. So yeah, no, it's been super fun this morning. I appreciate your time, and I hope to see more of you often. So wonderful.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, everyone.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.